What's going on, Bucs fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Pirate Parlay Podcast here on the Sick Podcast Network. As always, I'm your host, JC Allen, and let's see if Santa's got the Bucs on his naughty and nice list coming up after this weekend, because they've squarely been on the naughty list the last 3 games, 3 straight divisional losses. Control your own destiny somehow still, but you controlled the last 2 weeks, and you could have just rested some guys who need some rest and who are banged up. And nope. That's not these Buccaneers from after the bye week with just 1 win in the last 7 games. Not looking good, but like I said, still control their own destiny. Can they take advantage? Miami's starting Quinn Ewers. Can they take advantage this weekend? We'll get into that. We're going to look into the inside the analytics of it. We're going to look inside the tape breakdown of it. It's my very special guest that we have on today. You guys know who he is. He's very well versed in all that stuff. And what kind of contract ramifications are coming up down the line, you know, if the Bucs decide to make some moves in the offseason. All that and more after the break.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Pirate Parlay.
Battle intercepted, picked off in the end zone. Bucs are going to beat the Chiefs. We're the champions of the world.
The sickest Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast. It's going to be sick.
Welcome back to the other side here on the Pirate Parlay Podcast on the Sick Podcast Network. JC Allen, your host, as always. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to another episode. Go ahead, do me a favor, like, subscribe, turn the notification on. If you're watching on Twitter, pop on over to YouTube, like, subscribe. You don't have to watch it there. You can go back to Twitter and watch it. It's very easy, I know. Drop some comments, too. I want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts? Are the Bucs going to win this weekend? Do they have a shot at the playoffs? Do they need to fire Todd Bowles? What do you think? Where is your head at right now? And, of course, to everyone listening in audio version afterwards, I appreciate you guys. Come check us out live sometime. We're doing it on a Tuesday because tomorrow's Christmas Eve, and we all got stuff to do. So let's get it done out of the way. There's stuff to vent about. I told you last week, if they lost, this could be a little vent session here for y'all. If they won, we'd probably go on Friday, but they lost. Here we are, Tuesday. Merry Christmas to all of you. Hanukkah's winding down. Kwanzaa's right around the corner. Let's get our special guest in here to talk about these Buccaneers and what is next for them after 3 straight embarrassing divisional losses in a row. We got you guys know him over at Pewter Report. He is the Bucs cap guy. He's got his own Substack. He is none other than Joshua Queipo.
Hey, JC, how are you?
How are we doing, my friend? Long time no see. Happy to have you on the show.
It's good to be back. I will apologize. As you reminded me off air, we have once done one of your podcasts with me hiccuping through it. Today, I will be trying not to cough, although you will see me quickly muting myself and trying to get the coughs through, just getting over being sick.
Listen, yeah, I mean, he didn't even tell me. What a guy, right? I'm like, I could have done it solo or schedule someone else. There he goes. And he's like, no, I'm here. Let's do this. So what a guy. And he's sick, which means I don't get my normal Christmas cookies, which kinds of suck. But
they're packed up. I just have to I have to get them to the mail, to the post office. So yeah,
post office.
They have been made. I just have to get them out tomorrow.
They're New Year's cookies now. And it's in perfect time because my New Year's resolution is to cut down on the sweets. I'm not dieting per se, but I have a problem with the midnight munchies.
That doesn't make any sense. You're like, it's perfect timing. I was like, is your New Year's resolution to gain weight?
No, because I'll get them by New Year's. It's like a 3-day thing. I'll get them, and then maybe I'll treat myself. And I said, hey, I'm doing really good. I've told you guys I lost a ton of weight, looking to do some more, getting the home gym going here soon. So, yeah, I got to cut down on the sweets. But that doesn't mean anything compared to what's been going on the last 3 weeks, because the Bucs need to cut down on a lot of things. Sweets probably isn't one of them, but penalties, turnovers, mental errors, check drops, check. All of those things they need to cut out. And they need to do it quick, because if they don't, their playoff chances, which is crazy, Josh, because it's not even over if they lose against the Dolphins, which is the craziest thing. As long as the Seahawks beat the Panthers, they can lose to the Dolphins and still make the playoffs. It's insane to me where we're at in the season from where we began. MVP talk, 6-2, just, on top of the world. And after the bye, it just has come crumbling, and the offense and both sides of the ball look really just completely lost since that Rams game. They showed sign of life in the Patriots game, and in the Buffalo. It wasn't enough like they could in the earlier, but since that Rams game, it's been what's been going on? What have you seen? If you could sum it up, what's wrong with the Bucs?
They just can't execute. I mean, that's really what it is. We Pewter Report, we wrote something today like what's been most disappointing about the Bucs this season, and if you think about it on offense, you kind of have the three levels to the game, at least in the passing attack. You got the protection, you've got the quarterback, and then you've got the receivers. And then on defense, you've got the pass rush, you've got the coverage, and kind of the middle, the linebackers in the middle there. And it's like on any given play, you can be confident that 1/3 of the operation is going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And let down the other 2/3. You don't know which third it is from play to play, which is the maddening thing. But they
can't just bench somebody.
What's that?
You can't just bench someone and be like, all right, that's enough is enough.
You could. Maybe it sends a message. I don't know.
We're benching a lot of guys, though, because it's different guys almost every week.
Yeah, so it's you don't know who to bench. I think that's the big thing. But I've heard people say, and Todd Bowles kind of succinctly put it a couple weeks ago, you can put them in position to succeed, but they've got to execute the play. Perfect example is you call the zero blitz to try and prevent Carolina from getting any points at the end of the half. Jamel Dean just has to keep the receiver, stay on top of the receiver. He can't do it. And people have been calling for Todd Bowles to call more man coverage all year long, right? Or for 2 years now. He does it. And his best corner in the midst of his best season.
And one of the best press man corners in the entire league.
Yeah. He makes a mistake, right? Let's the whole thing, the whole operation down. So if the pass rush is getting close to the quarterback, linebackers can't do enough in coverage to make him hold the ball long enough for the pass rush to get there. If the coverage is really good in the back end, then the pass rush can't get to the quarterback. If the offensive line happens to hold up on the interior, the quarterback doesn't trust that it's going to and drops his eyes and looks to scramble when he doesn't need to. When he's able to stay in the pocket and hold, and read everything out, goes to make a throw, receivers at the wrong depth, running the wrong route, or
covered
on and on
covered,
and on.
Just not separating.
Yep.
And that was a big problem when Mike and Chris were out. It was just they couldn't separate.
On some reps, there was plenty of tape where they were open, but when they were open, then the protection was letting the quarterback down, or he was, he didn't trust it enough to make the throw, or double clutched, or, I've watched on social media the conversation divulged to, you have camps, right? This camp thinks that it's the pass protection. This camp thinks that it's the quarterback. This camp thinks that it's the receivers. This camp, it's all of it, right? Nobody's wrong and everybody's wrong at the same time. And that's a problem. You have a talented roster with a few holes. I mean, it's not perfect. That was absolutely beleaguered by injuries this year, and then execution issues have compounded everything. And somehow, amazingly enough, Next Gen Stats still thinks the Bucs have a better than 50% chance of making the playoffs.
58%. It's crazy. It is crazy in how we got here. I think the first finger to point, and it's not really at anyone itself, is injuries, right? And I think that's really taking a toll on Graham Barton for sure, but on Baker's psyche as well. You mentioned, he's not trusting protection, so he's dropping his eyes. I feel like Baker's on an internal count where he knows, I've got 2.5 seconds to get rid of this ball. I've got to make sure I'm not going to get sacked. And that's when he gets sacked. And I think you point the finger at injuries, and then you point it right to the interior line, because I think that's where most of this team's struggles are happening. whether that's not getting sufficient push in the run game, whether that's not protecting Baker, and that's Graham Barton. Dan Feeney is not an NFL starting caliber guard. I don't think he is. Mike Jordan had some good reps here and there on Sunday, but for the most part, he's not the answer. And of course, those aren't your answers because they're not your guys. But I think that has done that interior depth and Graham Barton not having those guys that he's comfortable playing with has done so much detrimental to this offense that Baker can't snap out of it because he thinks it's coming. They're inconsistent with their ability to move the ball in the run game, and it's affecting everything, including Josh Grizzard's play calling. Obviously, everything else you mentioned there, Baker's own inabilities and the wide receiver, and it all. But I think it stems from this interior offensive line playing so poorly as they have.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely had a huge impact on the offense and in a negative way. I think I agree with a lot of what you just said, that if there were, I mentioned it just a minute ago, there were some holes on this roster that maybe people didn't see coming. And again, like you're talking about guards 3 and 4. So fourth guards, there aren't many good fourth guards in the NFL. And at times, I mean, the operation as a whole, when you look at it from a macro level, has actually done some yeoman's work considering the situation.
Yeah.
For what you would think guard 3 and guard 4 would be able to accomplish, because Baker is not one of the most pressured quarterbacks in the NFL. It's more league average-ish. And when you consider that that's what they're on, that's not a terrible result to expect. Now, with that said, on a play-to-play basis, and I think you pointed out something really important there, because you don't know from rep to rep when that's going to happen. And so he's speeding up his process. And there are times where he's dropping his eyes and he's looking to run when he doesn't need to. And that's because he is looking for the play, the second reaction play that he may have to make that was working so well for him in the beginning of the season, where he's just finding a lane and scrambling and picking up yards, the hidden yardage that isn't designed. When he goes to do that and he's just expecting it, he's giving up what's designed for him, which oftentimes is there. I don't necessarily blame Baker for it, because again, you don't know which snaps that's going to happen and which snaps it's not going to happen. So he's preparing for it,
right,
in case it needs to happen. And in doing that, it's throwing off the timing of the plays altogether.
Absolutely.
Didn't really matter in this last game anyway, because Todd Bowles took the ball out of the passing attack's hands altogether,
right.
Which I thought was probably the most egregious issue. It was the philosophy for how they wanted to win the game was survivorship bias to an extreme. And what I mean by that is the thinking was, if you run the ball over 30 times, there's an X percentage of teams win an X percentage of the time when they run the ball over 30 times.
With them, that's been 2-15 over the low or whatever it was.
Yeah. The problem with that is the teams that run the ball over 30 times and win, it's because they had such a big lead that at the end of the game, they could add all these additional runs to get over 30. Right. It was not how the game plan was constructed. It was a byproduct of being dominant early in the game, which is usually from a passing attack standpoint. Right. So the thought process to it, I don't agree with. And I thought, when you've invested two first and 2 third round picks plus $40.5 million into your wide receiver room, and that's just at the top 4 spots, right? And then you add $40 million to you've got a $40 million quarterback. You've got almost $50 million a year, actually a little over $50 million a year in your tackles, who are bookend pass protectors. Mm-hmm. And you decide, after all of that investment, we want to take the ball away from our passing game.
Yeah.
That to me signals huge issues.
And I think
it signals that the talent acquisition department and the coaching staff are on the same page. As the talent acquisition department, Jason Light and his scouting crew, they have put together an offense that's supposed to be explosive, supposed to attack downfield, that's supposed to run through to a certain degree their passing attack. And the coaching staff decided that that's not how we win ball games.
No.
That to me is very concerning. And I think that leads into something that you had mentioned earlier, that there are changes coming this offseason.
Yeah, and I think that probably that directive does come from Todd Bowles for one of two reasons. A, he doesn't entrust the interior of the offensive line, and they're much better run blocking. I won't even say much better. They're better run blocking and less of a liability than they are in pass protection.
I don't even know if it's so much that they're better at run blocking, but it's more difficult to create to suffer negative plays.
Right,
in the run
especially
game.
with Bucky, because he can make stuff out of nothing. And that was my favorite call on Sunday was Bucky Irving. He does something, and he's down to the one. I was like, yeah, that sums it up. I don't know what that was, but he did something. And I think that, let's lean on him and mask those. And also the defense. And that's been something that's been theorized out there is, protect the defense, control the clock. Don't leave them out there. Don't let them lose the game for you. But I agree. You need to win this game. I mean, this is not a game you go in to play safe. Establish the ground game. Sure, you want to go in there and you want to run it and, let them know, hey, we're going to be physical. We're going to run the ball when we want to. Great. But at some point, 26 first down plays, only 8 of them were passes. 18 of them were runs. Like that's getting Byron Leftwich, Dave Canales type,
yeah, and a lot of those came in the 2-minute, came in the 2-minute drives. What
they're playing for the third and short, Josh, and that's what drives me insane.
And they were good on third down. They were actually good on third down.
8 of 14. Yep. I mean, yes, an improvement. Let's not call that good, Josh.
Well, no, that is good because remember, this was the number 1 third down team in the NFL last year.
They're a little bit over 50%. Right. Yes.
8 of 14 is over 50%. Let's not take anything away from their third down offense. It was good. The other issue I have with that game plan is, okay, limit the number of drives so you're not exposing your defense. It works backwards because the less drives you have, the less margin of error the defense has itself. And you're playing for a close game, which means in the end, you're going to be relying on your defense to make a stop.
Right.
So
it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. And you listen to Todd Bowles and Baker try to explain it, and it even further just kind of just is a little bit maddening. But I mean, I don't know. Virgin Boy is on here. He wants to know how you feel about Cade Otton now after yesterday's game.
He's still a good player. Like, I don't get swayed by 1 game sample sizes or two or 3 games. You look at Cade Otton over his 4-year career and where his trajectory is. He is one of the few tight ends in the NFL who everything is on the table for him. Everything you ask, you could possibly ask for the tight end position, he can do at a good.
No subbing in and out for a blocker or for a receiver. You can keep him. He's all around. And I agree. From where he was drafted and what his expectations are to where he is now, I think he's
been a home run draft pick.
And he's surpassed the ceiling or right at it.
Yeah, he's a home run draft pick for where he was selected, but he's also somebody that if I'm in the front office, if I'm the general manager, I'm looking to re-sign him this next year.
But I don't think I'm looking to re-sign him at the same amount that I was, and I know the market mostly dictates that, but I don't know if I feel comfortable giving him 3 for 33. And I know you're going to school me about percentage of the cap and why that doesn't matter or anything like that, and that I'm archaic in thinking $11 million for a tight end who can't catch more than 50 receptions and 500 yards in a year is worth more than $10 million. Please school me.
Well, a wide receiver who's catching 50 balls is going to cost a lot more than that. Okay, first of all, if you're just talking about the production there, you get for the price of 1 tight end the ability to take 2 jobs and not have to spread that money over 2 different players. If you look at guys who have had similar production to him, they go for about $12 to $13 million a year. So 3 years, anywhere from $35 to $40 million. I haven't done the final Like in the next couple weeks, I'll be doing my final projections for the upcoming free agent class, but I still believe that would be the contract that he would get, is somewhere between 3 for 35 and 3 for 40. And if the Bucs don't want to put out more than 11 million, another team will. And I don't be surprised if it's one of the better teams in the NFL.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Let's shift gears here. Let's talk about this week. Miami's coming in. They're not playing for a lot except to lose so they can have a better draft pick. It looks like Mike McDaniel's is going to be sticking around. They're getting rid of Tua this offseason. Quinn Ewers is their quarterback right now while he's benched. They're banged up. They've been banged up. They haven't been good, but they've been kind of on a little run here. I would say over the last 4 or 5 weeks. I think before that rather. So they're coming off 2 losses, the Bengals and the Steelers, but they ripped off 4 wins in a row, including one against the Bills. But this is a bad team. It's a 6-win team. Bucs are only a 7-win team, so it's not. But this is a worse team than the Buccaneers. What are your thoughts going into this week? Were you one of the ones that had the Bucs losing or winning these last 3 weeks? How does that change your thoughts coming into here? This game where they know, we know, everybody knows they need to, but they don't need to win this game, which is crazy. They need to win this game in order to keep their playoff chances alive.
Yeah, I mean, they should beat Miami, but then they should have beat Carolina, right?
And the Saints.
With Quinn Ewers at quarterback, the Bucs should dominate in that matchup against him. Their run defense has been a little bit more suspect recently, and Miami can create a very good run game. They've got the best center in football right now in Aaron Brewer. They can fire off the ball and they can create lanes, and they've got running backs who can take advantage of that. So
Evan A. Chain is very good.
He is very good. And so they need to kind of get back to the basics on defending the run and dare Quinn Ewers to beat them, although they've dared other quarterbacks to beat them. And that,
Shuck.
But yeah, Shuck's a much better quarterback than Quinn Ewers there.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, they should win. And then on the other side of the ball, Miami's pass rush took a hit when they traded away Jalen Phillips. They haven't defended the run very well recently. Like, this is one where the Bucs really have to take a long look in the mirror and say, what were we designed to do? Mix the run and pass better than they have. Use play action, under center play action, and create some space and let their playmakers make plays. If they can do that, they should be able to win this game. And get to week 18 and be playing for a playoff spot. The thing is, even if they make the playoffs, I have zero faith that they can get past the first round. Yeah. So it's trying to continue the division dominance and get another, NFC South banner, and really just resetting for 2026 with better health and some very specific roster needs. And then a long look at what the direction of the on the field product is in terms of the coaching staff.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think they're going to play one of those NFC West teams, and they're not going to beat any of them. Maybe the 49ers, maybe, but that's a far cry. They're going to start to get a little bit healthier here too. Although the Bucs could get Kalijah Kancey back for the wild card round, which is something to kind of keep an eye on if they make it that far. But I don't know if they're one player away from winning a playoff game. But you tailed off there at the end talking about 2026 and beyond this season. Let's jump into that. I'm going to put you on the clock here. You're the armchair GM. You've got 2.5 minutes. Are you firing yourself? Are you firing Bulls? What moves are you making for now, for the future? You're on the clock starting now.
All right. So if I'm ownership, I'm not firing Jason Light. The roster overall is still pretty good. It's had some bad luck and it needs a new voice, but definitely not firing Light. I think Todd Bowles' time in Tampa has come to an end, barring a deep playoff run that I don't think is on the horizon for this team. So I would be looking at a new head coach and new coaching staff.
Stop. Who are you looking at?
I've got 5 names that I would be bringing in for interviews. On the offensive side of the ball, yeah, I'd give Clint Kubiak a look. Todd Monken. I guess six names actually. So Kubiak, Monken, Grant Udinski, and Shielhouse from LA would be the 4. Defensive side of the ball, I'd be looking at Shula, the defensive coordinator in LA, and Jesse Minter from the Chargers. So those would be the 6 names that would most interest me.
I'll continue with your offseason plan.
Okay, I mean, where are we going from here? Are we talking like?
All right, you got your new head coach. You found a head coach, one of those guys. What are the changes that you need? You said very specific roster needs, very specific changes that need to happen.
So
we've already fired Todd Bowles.
Yeah, so looking at the roster on the offensive side of the ball, I'm re-signing Cade Otton. I'm re-signing Mike Evans, and I'm running it back with mainly what you had before. I have a conversation and possibly flip-flop Bren Breton and Graham Barton next year for left guard and center. On the defensive side of the ball, I was a fan of the NFL Stock Exchange idea to make a trade for Nick Herbig from the Steelers. I think that he's not a premier household name just because he's had to play third fiddle to Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt, but very much like a Shaq Barrett type of breakout could be in store for him if he's able to become the first fiddle for another team like the Bucs. So I would love that. I would go after Nakobe Dean and then draft a linebacker, draft some interior offensive linemen in the middle rounds, look for another running back to complement Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker, who I would bring back. And then I'd actually make a run at bringing back Jamel Dean to try and get a little bit more out of this secondary. I think he's been the most consistent and the best corner on the team this year while you're trying to figure out what's going on with Zion next year, along with the hopefully elevating the play of Benjamin Morrison. And then I would even bring back Hassan Reddick as a third edge because I do think that he can bring something to the table in a different role. So, but the big ads there are Herbig on the edge, Nakobe Dean and inside linebacker.
Okay. And you think that's enough right now to push them into Super Bowl competitors, barring they stay healthy? Yeah,
I mean, I think health was a big issue this year. I think that the offense healthier is much better next year. And then I think that the defense with the improvement with the edge and linebacker specifically, I think some of the almost sacks that you saw this year become sacks. I think with a different voice, maybe you get better execution out of this roster. But the main thing is I think Herbig slots everybody into a better role, right? Like Yaya's had to kind of be their number one edge. Maybe he's more of a 1B or 2, number 2. Herbig gives him that opportunity. Hassan as a number 3 is a really good number 3. David Walker comes back from his ACL injury. I think he's a better number 4 than Anthony Nelson or Chris Braswell. Kalijah Cansey, theoretically healthier. Elijah Roberts in year 2. Again, you're bringing in some draft guys, some depth guys. But as far as like the starting roster, I think Herbig really resets a lot along that defensive front. And then, in the secondary, it's a high variance position group. I think we saw the lower end of that variance, and I'd be willing to bet on a higher variance next year.
Yeah, I agree. I think especially Jacob Parrish, I think it's going to be much better. Tyke with another year settled in there. I think they're in a good spot. So we'll see. We'll find out soon enough. We'll start talking more about this potentially as soon as next week. If the Bucs can't handle their business this week and the Panthers do, because then that's it. Destiny's over for the Buccaneers, and it's shifting gears. We'll talk about the Panthers game, but who cares? It's shifting gears to the offseason and what's going to happen there. So we'll get into all that as it unfolds. I want to wish everyone here a Merry Christmas. Yes, I said it. Merry Christmas for those of you who who are celebrating Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah. I know it wraps up, I think tonight's the last night. Kwanzaa's right around the corner. And Festivus, can't forget our Festivus celebrators. Appreciate everyone for tuning in, all the people in the comments, everyone for liking, subscribing, sharing, turn notifications, listening afterwards. Josh, go ahead, promote yourself. Let everyone know what you're up to. You're everywhere right now.
I don't know about everywhere.
We're coworkers again.
I'm that is true. Yeah. So Bucs content, Pewter Report. I do contract projections on my Substack, the NFL According to Q, and I have started to write for the Fansided Network, talking a little bit more about contract situations, potential extensions in more of a long form content. So you can catch me on some of the Fansided platforms. So recently just did a contract projection for Byron Young for the edge rusher for the Rams.
What a stud. He's a ringer. He's a ringer. If you're, talk to your local Fansided. If you want to know contract projections, bother the heck out of their Twitter guy, and they'll get Josh to write up a contract projection for your team. If anyone's watching for somebody else, I'm sure we're gonna get him here soon because actually we can't because you can't cross with the Bucs. I'll have to just steal your comp from somebody else's. Josh Queipo. But all right. Merry Christmas to you, my friend. I appreciate you coming on here. Get better, man. You're sick for 2 weeks. You gotta start feeling better. It was also his birthday the other day. Everyone wish him a happy belated birthday. He's out of here. He's frozen. He's gone. See you later. It's Christmas Eve, guys. It's crazy. I'm in Florida. It's so crazy. Like, it just doesn't feel like it. And not because there's not snow, because I've had plenty of non-snow Christmases up north. Maybe it's just because it's not cold. I don't know. It's weird. Where's Christmas? Christmas Eve. It's here tomorrow. And the Bucs, they're hoping they're on the nice list because another showing like that, they're certainly gonna get a bag of coal and end up on the naughty list. That's going to do it for me here at the Power Parlay Podcast here on the Sick Podcast Network. Again, happy holidays to all of you guys. We'll be back here next week. Probably same thing Tuesday because Wednesday's New Year's Eve and, all that fun stuff. So catch us back here next Tuesday. We'll say 6 o'clock. We'll get someone lined up, and we'll be talking about the Buccaneers win and what's next and the must-win game against the Panthers. We'll be talking about the loss and maybe looking at some potential head coaching candidates if Todd Bowles is no longer sticking around. So we'll get into all that and more next week. Again, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Power Parlay Podcast here on the Stick Podcast Network. I'm JC Allen, and we're out of here. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Peace out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Pirate Parlay on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.